So before further ado, I'm just going to start the program by introducing our first guest, which is Star Parker. I will tell you a little bit about Star. She is the founder and president of the Center for Urban Renewal and Education, a public policy think tank that promotes market-based solutions to fight poverty. She is also a nationally syndicated columnist. Before involvement in social activism, Star had 7 years of firsthand experience in the grip of welfare dependency. After consulting on federal welfare reform in the mid-90s, she founded Urban Cure to bring new ideas to policy discussions on how to transition America's poor from government dependency. Please welcome Star Parker.
Good morning. It is so wonderful to be here with you this morning, especially as we're here to celebrate life and one of the first pro-life march opportunities in quite some time that we're not covered in snow. Those of us that were out there yesterday got a taste of Washington, D.C., but today it looks like we'll have a clear day to march yet again to tell the nation and the world that abortion may be legal, but it's not lawful in God's eyes, and we're going to do all that we can to end it. One thing that was not in my bio sketch right now is why I am so adamant about this particular movement in our country to rid ourselves of such a horrible, horrible crime against humanity. Prior to receiving Christ, I got caught up in the lies of the left, including their lie about abortion, and I continued to go in and out of abortion clinic after clinic until it wasn't after the fourth time that I had a gut instinct way down deep inside that there must be something wrong with killing your offspring. Maybe the country didn't have it right. Maybe that I was hearing was not right. And I then made a decision within myself outside of Christ that I just wasn't going to do that anymore. It was my birth control. And in that decision, I suppose it began the process for God to begin to work in my life. I had not changed my behavior, so I was pregnant again within a very short period of time. And that's how I ended up in and out of welfare that you did hear in my bio. 3.5 years consistently, because I did get pregnant again, not married, and watched my life over that next 3.5 years go into a little dark hole. And that's where God found me, got me up, cleaned me up, got me into school, graduated with a degree in marketing and international business, started one. That business was destroyed during the 1992 Los Angeles riots, but it helped me transition then into social activism and reform. So today I run CURE here in Washington, D.C. We're at 13th and F, and CURE, the Center for Urban Renewal and Education, is a policy think tank. So we work on initiatives that reduce the hand of government in poverty. We look at market-based solutions to fight poverty. So when it comes to protecting life, that's one of the first steps out of poverty is self-government, understanding that each and every one of us have an obligation to each other and to the Lord to be self-sufficient and to be responsible with the choices that we make. It's important to me to be here because to first of all meet the bloggers of the country and in pro-life is exciting because internet is something that we all have to learn, and those of us that have a little years behind us have to engage ourselves and or go find our grandchildren to figure out how to even work our little iPhones. Mine happens to be not here today, so I have to kind of do it myself. One of the things that I was asked to speak about is to the pro-life blogger community is what we're already doing at CURE in this internet world, in this worldwide web, so that we can push out messaging on life and other issues that matter to God. What we do is what most organizations do is we have a Twitter account. I'm at Star Parker. We do the Facebook. I'm Star Parker for Freedom. We do the email. And in fact, I met someone earlier that said, I get all of your emails. We email out at least twice a week. We try not to overwhelm our audience with emails. One of the emails is my nationally syndicated column, because in addition to running CURE, I write a syndicated column. And after the newspapers across the country get that column, we then place it ourselves with our market, as well as other web opportunities, including WorldNet Daily, Town Hall, Red State, lots and lots of people. I don't even want to begin to list. Even yourselves may even carry my column or post that, and I thank you for that. We do have a blog. Our blog is called blackcommunitynews.com. And the reason that we established this blog over a year ago is because it's extremely important to CURE, the Center for Urban Renewal and Education, to push our message into the communities that are the least to hear the message, but are the most interrupted in their lives because of the aggression of the left in their communities, in passing these policies. When you think on abortion alone, the impact that it's had on the black community leaves many of us restless and sleepless as a result of how they've been targeted by organizations like Planned Parenthood, who we know now 79% of Planned Parenthood clinics are within walking distance of our most hardest hit and vulnerable communities, and we want that to stop. We want the information out, but unlike those of us that push honesty into the marketplace, there are those that will lie about us all of the time, and it's very difficult then to get clear information around the gatekeepers in some of these communities, in specifically the black community for us. So we developed out a blog that specifically targets this community, and Urban Cure takes a very minor role there. We blend a combination of political thought with Christian thought, and particularly on these social issues. We want the communities that we're trying to serve know that there's information available for them on abortion. We want them to know there's hope for them, that there's life after abortion for them, that God is a God of redemption, and it just takes them to confess their fault before Him, that He will then forgive them. When it comes to what we're doing on this particular issue, why you are here, as I mentioned, CURE is a think tank. We're looking at driving the government out of charity. We really believe that the answer to poverty is freedom and personal responsibility. It's not a welfare state, and we want the government out of every aspect of trying to tell people how to live their lives, from housing policy to healthcare policy to education policy to welfare policies to even retirement policy. When you're looking in the face of a scripture that says a good man leaves an inheritance for his grandchildren, and yet the poor, the only little bit they have, they force it into a little black hole that they don't own. We want them to have personal retirement accounts. But we also are a very pro-life organization. In fact, I tell people we're more than a pro-life organization. We are an anti-abortion organization. So the current project that we're working on is a post-Gosnell Senate project. The details of that project is we want to strengthen current law. Current law from 2002 has a Born Alive Infants Protection Act. The Born Alive Infants Protection Act passed through the House, passed through the Senate. And what's interesting about the Born Alive Infants Protection Act of 2002 that was signed into law is that by President Bush, is that there was a voice vote in the Senate, and every senator voted for it, including Senator Hillary Clinton, including Senator Harry Reid. The list is long about those that are on the hard left that thought that when a baby is born alive after abortion, perhaps we shouldn't kill it. Well, when we found that the debate, and during the debate process, that it had no penalties, we also found that in a post-Gosnell era, there was no place for them to go. If those of you that were following the trial of Kermit Gosnell up in Philadelphia, he did exactly what we don't want to happen to these babies once they're born, to kill them. And there was no recourse in law for those that were witnessing this in that clinic to go. They tried to tell. Every photo we had out of that trial and for that trial came from a staffer. So we want penalties in the Born Alive Infants Protection Act, and we're doing all that we can as an organization to get that work done. We also want whistleblower language. We believe that the most vulnerable have been targeted for these abortion clinics, and as we've learned from Abby Johnson and others, that this is not a world that, those that are strengthened through family and faith operate in. And so we, as an organization, see them as most vulnerable in our society. And this is where people like abortionist Gosnell go to get their workers. They go into the gutter of America and get the most vulnerable. And so we want them to be able to come out of those environments and healthy. And we want them to be able to tell. And we want whistleblower language so that they will be protected in law in that particular act. In closing, I see my time is running out. And I welcome you to help us get this done. We've got all the data. We've got all the research. We even have a chart that shows how You see that one line? This is post-Gosnell, how reckless these abortionists across the country have become in this new environment where they're maiming, they're murdering, and they're molesting women that come in to kill their offspring. In closing, I just want to very quickly remind you of post-Gosnell, what we were able to submit into testimony through one of my colleagues, Dr. Day Gardner from the National Black Pro-Life Union. Day put in testimony to the United States Congress as we began this campaign a year ago. Because she sat in the courtroom the whole time. And I don't have time to read all of her testimony, but there's one part I just want you to know so that you'll get a sense of urgency in this moment that we're in. She said, I heard gruesome testimony about abortion clinic workers about how Gosnell would deliver fully developed, viable children and then turn them over to cut their spinal cords. Gosnell even joked that one baby was big enough to walk to the bus stop. He then cut that little boy's neck and tossed him in a shoebox. It was no big deal to him to kill these children, to slash their necks as they struggled, as they strained, as they cried. And if that wasn't grotesque enough, he severed off their tiny feet of several babies and kept them displayed in jars on a shelf as some sort of souvenir. Gosnell stored the bodies. And you remember that during the trial, that he had two different rooms for the women to go into, the white room and the black room. And in the black room, this is where these jars were on a shelf as souvenirs. Gosnell stored the bodies of children in milk jugs and large soft drink containers and juice bottles. 47 babies were found frozen in the refrigerator freezer, the same freezer, of course, where the staff keep their lunch. They had to be thawed out like TV dinners so that the coroner could determine their first and last moments of life. Employee Linda Williams actually played with a baby who survived a botched abortion for several minutes and then snipped the child's neck. Sherry West, a former employee, testified at Gosnell's trial last April, stating that she witnessed a baby screaming, lying on the shelf after having been delivered during an abortion procedure at the clinic. In her testimony, she described the baby as being 18 to 24 inches long and one of the largest babies that she had seen aborted there. It goes on. My time is up. We must stop this Holocaust. We've got to end abortion in our country. We've got to end abortion in our world. Thank you.